I found the pieces in a little plastic bag at an antique shop. The shop was just down the street from the building I used to live in. The owner of the shop was a nice old man with a really long gray beard. I didn't talk to him, but he struck me as a sort of failed artist. He sold a lot of art, or at least tried, other than the usual vintage junk. I think most of it was actually his. I was actually looking for a bedside lamp to help me on my night reads, but as it always happens when you look for something in these places, you end up with something entirely different. I had just moved into my apartment, and I was so broke that even IKEA products felt like a luxury. The shop had a couple of nice lamps, but none looked like what I was looking for. It took me very little to understand the place didn't have anything that interested me, so before heading out, I looked around a little. I wasn't in a rush anyway, and the place was somewhat cozy. A painting caught my attention. It was kind of an abstract vase of flowers. I thought it would fit very nicely in the living room with all of my fake plants, but as I was looking at it and figuring out on what wall it would go on, in the corner of my eye I saw something move on the other side of the shop. I thought it'd be the owner, but it wasn't him, as he was dusting some stuff on a bookshelf by my side. It was a little plastic bag. It sat on a shelf with some old plates. Even in this mess of a shop, it felt out of place. When I sat eyes on it, looked like it moved again. Just a slight movement, like it had roaches inside it, scurrying around the pieces. I moved closer to inspect it. Reflecting on it now as I write this, it's weird how nothing seemed weird to me at the moment. I guess it was having an effect on me even before I started assembling it. There was no box, no image to go off of, and the pieces inside all looked the same. Every single piece of the puzzle was a dark color, and I could barely recognize any part of a drawing. As I picked up the bag, I noticed something else, just slightly wrong. Its weight was just a little off from what I expected, just a little heavier than it should be. I never believed in anything supernatural, or in any religion, or luck, or karma, and maybe that's why I was so drawn to this little puzzle. From the first moment I saw it, I knew this thing was simply put, cursed. I knew it was something that could potentially hurt me in some way, and for as much as I'm writing this to complain about what's been happening to me, I know this is my fault, even though I felt it had some power over me. From the first moment I came across it, it wasn't that strong to force me to take it. The reason I took it was because I knew it would make me feel something, even if it would end up badly for me. I bought the painting and the puzzle and went home. Anaya, my cat, greeted me, and I noticed she was very curious about what I brought home. I moved to the couch, opened the bag, and laid all the pieces of the puzzle on the coffee table. Anaya came to check it out, took one sniff, then scurried away. She wasn't scared, but she didn't trust it the same way she treats a stranger when they come to visit. The last puzzle I ever assembled was probably the Barbie one my Aunt Meredith gifted me for my 7th birthday. Not the greatest gift I ever received, but I remember it keeping me occupied for a boring summer afternoon. I also remember breaking it up and putting it back in its box after I was done with it, since I didn't really know what to do with the puzzle at the time. I honestly still don't know what you do with it. I guess you put it in a frame and hang it somewhere? I decided that's what I was going to do with this one, but I had to assemble it first to find out its size before buying the right frame since there was no box for it. Pieces weren't that many, so it shouldn't have been that big, and yet, after a couple of hours of putting pieces together, I ran out of space on my coffee table. Did I say laid all the pieces on the table? Well, that's what I thought. But somehow, I kept finding more and more in the bag. When it looked like I used up almost all of the pieces, more kept showing up. It kept happening again and again, and yeah, I thought it was strange, but it also made some sense. It felt like some sort of dream logic. I say dream because the nightmare hadn't started yet. It was midnight at one point. Don't know how I didn't see it coming. I even skipped dinner and forgot to feed Anaya. I even missed my usual evening call I have with my mother. I noticed the missed calls on my phone and texted an apology to my mother, saying my afternoon nap got out of control. It was in character for me. I did my night routine and checked the house one last time before going to bed. When I came to check it again, the puzzle had somewhat shrunk. It was subtle, but still noticeable. Only one piece was missing. I checked the bag for it, but for the first time all day, it was empty. I looked under the table and the couch, but had no luck. I went to bed before this little inconvenience could drive me crazy, like these things usually do, and I told myself I'd check better in the morning. A pressure in my stomach woke me up. Nausea followed and built up quickly. So quickly I couldn't get to the bathroom in time and puked on my bed. I felt slightly relieved right after. I massaged my throat as I felt something had scratched it. When I looked down at the mess I made, I saw what it did. It was the puzzle piece. I don't know how it got there, it just did. And again, I had that feeling that all of it made sense, somehow. I cleaned myself up and put the bed sheets in the washers. I then washed the puzzle piece. It was a little mushy, but it wasn't ruined, so I went to complete the puzzle. It was exactly the centerpiece. When completed, the art of the puzzle finally revealed itself. It was very dark, like a black void of some sort, but you could make out a little object in the center, a hand. Did I waste a whole day just for this? I asked myself. So I kept looking to understand if it meant something, or maybe just to justify this waste of time. But the more I looked, the more the hand got bigger. It was subtle at first, but it increasingly got bigger, faster and faster. Then it shot out of the puzzle and grabbed my head. Its palm crushed my face, and its finger wrapped around the back of my head. With a tight, cold grip, it tried to drag me down. I grabbed the edges of the coffee table and tried to resist. I tried to scream, but the palm pressed too tight over my mouth. No words could come out. I tried to bite and push away, but nothing could free me. I started to feel dizzy. My head pulsed while I strained my neck to prevent myself from being dragged away. My skull felt like it was about to crush under the pressure of the hand, gripping my head tighter and tighter. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the coffee table from underneath and flipped it. The hand flipped with it too, but never let go of my head. It threw me to the other side of the room, and I blacked out. The morning sun helped me come to my senses. I stood up and walked up to the coffee table. I put it back in its place and started picking up the pieces of the puzzle. My intentions at first were to throw it all away, but with each piece I picked up a feeling slowly creeped up inside me, a fear. So here I am, just a few moments later after I finished assembling the puzzle once again. This time, it was a normal puzzle. It took a normal amount of time to assemble, and no pieces kept showing up from thin air or in my stomach, but my fear has been confirmed. There's nothing inside it. Whatever it was, it got out.